Okay, so going for our trainings, Ajahn Thomas and also the reverends and everyone. Good evening. Well, actually, normally when I give a talk like that, I normally just present it in a PowerPoint. And Dr. Ajahn just mentioned about impermanence because when I almost done, and I just thought I need to find one quotation from Visuddhimagga, the power of purification. And then when this grabs a book, and then we have some Burmese guests here, and that was translated by the Burmese version, not by the Monica. But I want to see how the translation is working. And then somehow then the computer freeze, and all my PowerPoint gone because I forget to save it. And that's impermanent. You could not imagine how furious I was with my bad practice. And then I told one of our USN's devotees, and on the way I said that I almost want to throw away my computer. And then I decided maybe I'm not coming for a meeting tomorrow. And I would love if that time Ajahn Dana would just remind me impermanence. I would really stop my anger that time. Anyway, so thank you for the wonderful talk. And so I mean now I think that actually is a good karma because then I don't have to follow. I don't have to stick to the PowerPoint. That's a wonderful of impermanence. Okay. Well, actually, I like to talk about, since I kind of like represent, I wouldn't say all, but represent as a more like a Chinese tradition in the Mahayana, even though I wasn't ordained as like a tradition. So I like to present one of the very important idea in the Mahayana Buddhism as what we call the great compassion. But I like to just put that title as in light of passion, the ideology of great compassion. Well, just allow me to read sometime if I need to. We know that, the Greek compassion contains several important concepts in relation to human beings, equally regardless of their race, ethnicity, economic status, gender, and so forth. And it calls to treat everyone and each person as their own son or sister or brother. That's actually the essence, almost like the ideology of the Greek compassion. And but when we talk about good compassion, first we need to say about the word. Say that in English, when we say compassion, the word normally from the Latin word com and passio, right? Well, it means com. It means with or together, almost like a party, sahar, or something like that. So and then passio, it's the word means to suffer. But I think maybe best I would translate as more like endure. So that's how later on about 13th to 14th century in England. I mean the English started to use the term as a compassion. Well, certainly I didn't have a deep research on that why they started to use the term before. Why didn't we have the term before? But during the 14th century, maybe there was some social change in England, perhaps that they think that they need some new word. For example, like in America, of course, like that. Now the word like nirvana, or nowadays very popular, the Arahant, the Buddha is a term almost everybody knows. It's something like that because when the Buddhism being kind of carried to America, and then the American people need to realize sometimes the term within English is not enough, so they need to adopt some other language into like a compassion. Anyway, now I'm sure I don't need to say that what the compassion generally means. It just means that you would actually endure other people's suffering, and in wishing that they could be relieved from the suffering. That's meant by compassion. Now, the great compassion is one of the important qualities of the Buddha. I guess this also equally been recognized by any tradition. And it forms the basis of all perfection. This is something I think generally people will not aware. But what is actually the basis of the perfection? We talk about and say that in the Pali tradition we talk about the 10 perfections, like the generosity, the morality, renunciation, wisdom, energy, forbearance, truthfulness, resolution, loving kindness, and equanimity as the 10 perfections. Well, But especially according to the Mahayana way of understanding, the basics, I mean the foundation of the perfection, even though in so-called the Mahayana tradition understand as a sixth perfection, is all come from the great compassion. In other words, that's the reason why also, that's become a deeper study. Why, even in the list of the perfection, you do not see there was something called the equanimity and loving kindness as an item. But in the so-called Mahayana, in the Mahayana, the perfection is always understood as six, like generosity, the same as the pali, morality, the same as the pali as well, the Theravada Buddhism, and then the forbearance, or you could say the patience, the shanti, is the same as the pali as well. And then you also have the vidya, energy, as the same as the pali, but then and the wisdom is the same. But the only one that the Pali do not talk about, not at all, they don't have the same exactly the least is the meditative absorption, meditation, the meditative absorption, as the one of the paramita. But when you look at the list in the Pali, of course, then you know, because equanimity, metta, and adhitthana are highly related to that. There's, you could say, the dhyana paramita. Okay. All right. Now, when we understand that they have the close relationship with the paramita, and then we come to something about the how general understanding the paramita could use the practice of paramita even to exercise the compassion, as they don't call it compassion, but as the great compassion. Now, say to give an example here, it is mentioned in the same literature. In the literature, like I said, Mahaprajna Paramita Upadesha Sastra. Okay, that even one have accomplished meditation, absorption means samadhi. When someone have developed the samadhi, out of compassion to sentient being, he is not satisfied with various types of beautiful mental meditative states as the internal Dharma, and not satisfied with unpleasant things like, when unpleasant generally, traditionally meditate on asubha, the impureness, as an external Dharma. Having contemplated in such a way, he gives rise to great compassion mind, and wow, I will teach sentient beings to have internal beautiful meditative concentration and to be away from the temptation in order to achieve happiness from impurity meditation. Based on those wonderful absorption, gradually one gains a happiness from the Buddha's path. In other words, someone suddenly, the basic is asking the great compassion, but I like to say that the kind of like you have the passion to practice the paramita, take the absorption paramita as one, meaning meditation paramita as one. Someone say that they have this meditation state mind so good, but they should not find the content. Like, oh, now I have a wonderful meditation. Nor even like the external Dharma, traditional understanding in the Northern school, or you could say Mahayana, as visualization, for example, like thinking about asubha, like the corpse that decay, right? And then from that, your mind becomes pure. But that pureness will give you really wonderful feeling. But you will not content with that too. Rather, with that, but you need it, but you don't content. You don't think, okay, now I practice asubha. But rather, you have to generate this mind to think the sentient being. I'm doing this for the sake of the sentient being. Kind of like, not for myself, but for the sake of sentient being. And that's what me understand, that is the way for the Buddha's path, you see, according to the Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, we know that story, I don't have to say too much, but like the Sumedha, right? Sumedha, it's said that when Sumedha, he met one of his life in the past, the Buddha, before he became a Buddha, one of his past life, usually recorded as a bodhisattva, so as a Sumedha, and he met one Dibankara Buddha, right? And then he was so happy to see the Buddha, and he said, according to the commentary or even I think it's Vinaya, the commentary as well, said that he could attain arahantship, but he didn't want to attain arahantship. He just wanted to be like the Dibankara Buddha. That certainly is highly stressed in Mahayana. Okay, stress on in Mahayana, saying that he wanted to attain like that Buddha because he could do much more, and he could even train a lot of arahants. That's what he was really like admired to. And then that time, of course, he contemplate what actually is the thing that he could practice if he's not going to attain arahant, not as a perfect person at the time. So that's the reason why, even in the Pali, like the Mahavansa, okay, and then it's mentioned that, and also Buddha Charita, the mention about the Buddha life, that also certainly in a lot of Mahayana texts mentioned that. So then he started to contemplate that now what he need to do further is practice of paramita, and with that paramita to generate the great compassion. Or even also with the great compassion at the same time generate the paramita. So they would simultaneously. And then he would know, like, then the Sumedha bore personal suffering in the circle of life and death for the long duration of 4 incalculable eons and 100,000 eons to fulfill the perfection in order to liberate suffering beings. So that's what the main purpose of what the Sumedha, and it's believed that that's why he spent so many eons in order to become a Buddha. Okay. Okay. Now, I like to just jump a little bit, basically, and then now, so here there's a little discussion. So, that's Mahayana way of understanding that yes, you can get a cut off your reincarnation, or not cut off, like you can be a perfect person, attain the final nirvana, but then still Mahayana always trying to say, to become a Buddha is different from become Arahant. That's what is one. So, with respect to the understanding of great compassion, even you might think this is Mahayana text saying no. In the northern school, you would say in India, they would say like the Sarvastivada school, Vibhajavada school. Not Vibhajavada. Vibhajavada is a Theravada. Samitiya school, maybe perhaps even the Bukkalavada school. They actually even like the source from the Vibhasa, from the Sarvastivada school, say that the difference between the Buddha and the Arahant in terms of the great compassion, it's because the Buddha always do everything for the benefit and for the protection of the sentient beings. So, and the same thing is that it always operates with the pure mind equally and continuously direct towards sentient beings. In other words, everything, either the state of mind with the equanimity with the sentient being, or always with the care of the sentient being, always that it's actually understood as a kind of good compassion for the Buddha. But of course, that might. I don't think that the Sarvastivada who say the Arahant do not do that, but they just want to say always doing is only the Buddha. Something kind of carry that kind of understanding. Okay. All right. Okay. Now maybe not very interested, but at least I'm sure people know there's something about compassion. I just like say something sum up a little bit about the great compassion and sorry, maybe not here. The quality of the great compassion has the quality of absence of ignorance. That's one very important thing. And not just merely without a harmful mind and hatred like compassion. I mean, in other words, the great compassion always have to carry with the wisdom. So, as for the compassion mindset, those who have great compassion are also focused on the beings in three realms, but the great compassion can be achieved at the full meditative absorption, and it is not shared to others, kind of not being like. Anyway, maybe best to say this: the quality of the great compassion, it's always must come with the wisdom, must always do it, must basically, and even the meditation depth, the meditation stage, very similar to what they believe to be compassion state, but then they still always have able to let the mind to come to a stage. I like to say something because it's very common in Chinese, very popular in Chinese, to say that they will come to the stage called without separation from one another. 同体大悲 is very, very popular Chinese word. If you go to a Chinese temple, I don't know whether they practice or not why, but they definitely almost always put the word 同体大悲. But I translate it as without separation from one another. The great compassion without separation from one another. So through the clear understanding of the teaching of the Buddha, accompanied by removing the able, if it essentially we call alampaka, and the object alambana of meditation, he or she will be capable of establish the egalitarian state of mind, whereas the great compassion without separation from one another is fully developed. Okay, all right. That's in other words, that's why even this story means this kind of practice is also been taught in a very popular sutra, either in the Tibetan or even certainly in Chinese Tibetan sutra. The Diamond Sutra also mentioned about one of the famous story called Shantivadi, okay, as Shantivadi, and he as he was Shantivadi, generally you could say the patient follower, a patient follower or a forbearance follower. Shantivadi, while he was practicing in one time, and then he met one of the king called Kali Raja. Okay, I think this Kali is called Kalu. I cannot remember exactly. As I put in PowerPoint, I can't remember. But anyway, just remember Kali Raja. His very famous story that he accompanied with, of course, a lot of concubine, right, with him, and in the garden, and they are playful there, cheerfully, and then the king falls asleep. And these concubines, they felt bored, and now the king falls asleep. They could really go roaming around the park, and then he saw one sage sitting and doing meditation, or like sitting and practice. And then these concubines really thinking that we want to listen something from the sage. That's why, and the sage really to talk to this concubine. Unfortunately, when the king wake up, he saw nobody around him. You know, he could imagine in those days when nobody around. When he wake up, all the concubines gone, and then he looked for this concubine. Where are these beautiful concubines gone? So, and then he saw that this concubine was attentively listening to the sage. He got jealous so much, and I could imagine an image like then he rushed to that in front of the sage and chased away all these concubines, and then he asked the sage, "What are you doing?" And the sage, I don't know whether he did say the wrong word or what, but he said, "I am the one who practice forbearance, meaning the patient, paramita. I'm the one who practice. Okay," and he said, "If you practice patient, really? So let me see how patient you are." So then the king just took up the sword and started to cut his skin, let it bleed. And he was really patient and accepted that. And then he started to chop his hand off. He also accepted that. Anyway, he tortured at the end, the sage to death. And it's a very, very popular story in Chinese as well. And then everybody know Geli Wan. That's mean the kind of like if you have studied Chinese Buddhism, you know that sort of story happened. And then of course that according to the Jataka later on said that the one who cut him is the Devadatta. Okay, when the pastime Devadatta, and the say was the pastime of the Buddha. Anyway, now the story in Dharma Sutra, of course, Dharma Sutra trying to say in that because Dharma Sutra is one of the Mahayana kind of Mahayana Sutra trying to tell you in the practical side, saying that how that time this sage able to sustain and endure the suffering so much that even he was tortured to death, not immediately like a gunshot, but just piece by piece. He even would not allow himself to arise in anger, like what I did. No, what I couldn't do, not what I did, what I couldn't do it. So arouse the inside. And of course that's over the Dharma Sutra understanding, is because that time the Buddha, the sage would not have the perception of what called the Buddha, okay, it's very famous in Chinese. Everybody can almost recite that. It's like they have able to be practice the stage without having the conception of I, the conception of the beings, or conception of the Buddha, I mean the class of persons, and the conceptions and everyone. So that's why he could stay in that kind of stage. Okay. So that answer also that in other words mean he also with that kind of great compassion he could generate a much powerful kind of wisdom. He certainly must have the good compassion to understand that person killing him as a sage because out of ignorance, right? So and then but he still could use his meditation power to sustain that. I think, don't worry, I'm almost done. Okay. I need to have, since I'm talking about great compassion, I should have at least compassion, even not a great compassion. Just let me finish that. The last two paragraphs. The great compassion means the Buddha and Bodhisattva cannot forsake all sentient beings suffering and wish to save them tirelessly. Such a great quality of mind is called the great compassion. So in Mahayana Buddhism, it is believed to be the essential quality for every bodhisattva, and certainly is a part of three bodies, the Buddha. The body is the Buddha, okay, of the Buddha. Because all the perfection are based on the great compassion to foster spirituality and missions, the ideology of the kind and the compassionate person is full prescribed in this rich tradition. Now, the last thing I want to say is because of that, actually that's how to carry the spirit of Mahayana. Because in the spirit of Mahayana, thinking that why we have to still in the earth, why we should not care that we should be reborn and reborn and reborn again, according to Mahayana, we understand. It doesn't carry me Dhammadipa thing that's all, okay. I'm just convey the message of Mahayana with my selfless. Or maybe compassionate. So it's because you have to develop this kind of passion, the passion as the great compassion, that whatever you do, it's just for the sentient being. So, and this is, I would call that as actually, it's a new, it's kind of reformed ethic, I would say, from the, you could say from the Buddhist perspective, as a new form of ethic, for, to give the meaning of a practitioner. So that's what, so yeah. Thank you for your attention. Thank you so much. Yeah.